we're diving into the mind of Hitoshi Iwaaki, the creator behind absolute masterpieces like Parasite and his story. His stories are brilliant, they're influential, but they also leave you with this strange kind of unsettling feeling. So let's try and figure out exactly why that is.
Yeah, have you ever finished one of his manga and just felt, I don't know, kind of incomplete? Like you don't get that big fist-pumping, "we won" moment. Instead, you're just left with this quiet, nagging question. And that's really the mystery we're going to unpack here. Why does his brand of genius feel so different?
Okay, and the answer? It really starts right here. Iwaaki's whole approach operates on this principle. You could call it the sincerity of not making the reader feel good. And look, this isn't him being cynical or anything. It's a totally deliberate choice to skip the easy emotional highs for something a lot deeper.
So to really get this, we've got to look at the man himself. His background is not what you'd expect from a typical manga artist. And trust me, that's the key to all of this.
So here's what's so important to get about him. Iwaaki's work comes from a place of observation, not just raw artistic passion. Think about it. Born in 1960, he grew up in the 70s, which was this mix of sci-fi optimism and, a whole lot of anxiety. And get this, he didn't go to art school. He studied liberal arts at the University of Tokyo, one of the best schools in the country. That academic brain, plus the fact he pretty much always worked alone, meant he had this incredible, almost surgical control over his themes. And all that leads to his signature style. He writes like a scientist, a detached observer looking down a microscope. I mean, take the mother-son relationship in Parasite. That's super personal stuff, right? But he doesn't treat it like a tearjerker drama. Nope. He presents it almost like a biological fact, a system to be analyzed. He's not trying to make you cry. He's just showing you what he sees.
Okay, so this whole observational thing, it builds into a really consistent philosophy. You can actually boil down his entire life's work to 3 core rules that just define his style.
Rule number 1, and this one is absolutely fundamental. Humans are not special. Seriously, in Iwaaki's worlds, we are never the center of the universe. We're not the top of the food chain, the pinnacle of creation, none of that. We're just another species, part of the ecosystem. That idea right there just completely flips the script on how most stories are told. All right, rule number 2, and it flows right from the first one. It's all about function, not good versus evil. His stories are almost never about simple good guys versus bad guys. Instead, everything is judged by its purpose in the system. I mean, the parasites in Parasite, they're not just evil monsters. He presents them as an ecologically logical predator. Terrifying? Yes, but they have a function. It's about purpose, not some black and white morality. And finally, rule number 3. This is the big one. This is the one that gives you that weird, unsettling feeling we talked about. He deliberately avoids clean emotional victories. His heroes don't just win and ride off into the sunset. They survive. They adapt, but they're almost always left with these messy, unresolved moral problems. You never get that big, satisfying sigh of relief, which was totally radical for manga back then. And you can see the difference so clearly when you put it side by side, right? In your typical shonen manga, the enemy is just plain evil. The hero finds a clear, heroic path forward, and the whole thing wraps up with a huge, cathartic victory. But then you look at Parasite. The enemy is, ecologically correct. The hero, Shinichi, he never finds an easy answer. And the story, it doesn't end with a bang. It just ends. In this quiet, thoughtful, kind of unresolved way. It's a completely different game. So what's so wild is how he's taken these 3 rules and applied them to totally different genres over his career. I'm talking from sci-fi aliens all the way to ancient history. Just look at the path he's taken. He starts out in the late 80s doing this quiet, really observant sci-fi. Then, boom, the 90s hit, and he gives us Parasite, which is where all these ideas just click into place perfectly. He got a little experimental in the 2000s, and then, for pretty much the last 2 decades, he's been taking that exact same scientific lens and pointing it at the ancient world with his epic History. So yeah, this subject matter changed completely. He went from sci-fi and supernatural stuff to straight-up historical fact. But the theme, the core idea, that stayed exactly the same. It's always been this laser-focused, unflinching look at human nature and the systems of violence we build for ourselves. Okay, let's tie this all together. Let's go back to that first question. What's the deal with this feeling of discomfort? Why does it have such a powerful legacy? his impact is kind of quiet, but it is absolutely massive. Think about it. He really helped make the whole enemy with a valid point thing popular. He injected a serious ecological mindset into mainstream sci-fi manga. And his whole worldview that humans aren't the center of everything has influenced a whole generation of creators. And he's done it all while staying completely out of the spotlight. You know, there's this perfect way to describe his stories. They're like fossils of thought. I love that. They're not just fun stories for an afternoon. They are dense, layered artifacts of some really deep thinking. And just like a fossil, you can't just glance at it. You've got to dig it up, brush it off, and really study it to get what it's all about. So here it is. Here's the answer to the mystery. That unsettling, uncomfortable feeling you get when you finish his work, that's the whole point. His genius isn't in giving us what we want. It's in refusing to give us the easy, satisfying answers we think we need. By taking away that nice, neat, emotional bow at the end, he forces us. He forces you to actually grapple with the ideas and, think for yourself. And that really just leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? We are surrounded, absolutely swimming in stories designed to make us feel good and comfortable. But what if? What if the most important stories, the ones that really stick with us, are the ones that do the exact opposite? The ones that challenge us instead of just comforting us?